All right. Late night, late night mastermind. So tonight, what I wanted to do is something special. I wanted to create this video so that whether if you're watching it right now with me or you're watching the recording of this, you have a basic understanding of something you should be doing on a consistent basis when you're tapping into the markets. And that's being able to hold yourself accountable, right? Now, as we've already discussed in the beginning of the weeks, literally getting set up, having the right tools, the next thing we want to be able to start doing is utilizing these tools in a systematic manner, right? Now, you're going to notice inside your success manual, you have your trading checklist, which by filling out all of these things, it's going to help you set up a mechanical way of trading. For example, by being able to identify your currency pair, your risk, your entry, your lot size, the time that you're placing the trade, even your stop loss, all helps you identify a lot really. Are you over leveraging, right? Are you trading the right pair at the right time, right? And what's even better is by having these additional confirmations, you're going to be able to see your result. Now, as we've already put this into the success manual, I want to actually show you how I would apply this with two of the setups that I looked into this week. So if you guys were on my call on Sunday, the first setup that we discussed was GBP Swiss. And let me just replay this right back here and just show you just some basic things. And this right here is a combination of two simple tools. I love them, pullback pips and the Enigma system, right? Now, as you're aware, the pullback tool already helps you identify your bias. It helps you identify key structure levels in the market. So when you have something as powerful as Enigma, you can see a nice example where this market literally pulls back, makes its move, all right? Let's look at some other examples where you get Enigma literally giving you the setup, pullback pips confirms it, and just takes us to the downside, right? Now in this scenario, we saw something that was pretty interesting, and that's what being able to hold yourself accountable is all about. Because when you're tapping into the markets, you want to make sure that you're trading them at the right time. So like, for example, this right here is what? GBP Swiss. So one of the questions that you get is, what time are you trading this pair? And the reason being is because if you were looking to trade GBP, you would have started to look at it at 2 in the morning, right? And this helps you identify that because between the hours of 2 in the morning all the way up until mid New York session, you'll see that the GBPs will move. So looking at this scenario that we had, this one was obviously given all at 7:30, but I want you to realize if you were actually trading this pair at the right time, come 2 in the morning, you would have had the opportunity to already see this push to the upside. So one thing you got to be able to identify is by looking at the market, especially seeing Enigma sending out these systems, you always want to be able to catch that pullback. So if you were on the call on Saturday, the setup that I gave everyone was to look at this G Swiss right up into this level right here. We really wanted this market to hold this structure level, and seeing that it's bullish because it's green, we wanted it to literally come in and kick it to the upside, right? Which we eventually saw that market end up doing. Now, the good thing about this tool and our setup, for those who have no idea what I'm talking about, we literally had like a 10 pip stop loss and had this at about 60 pips, being able to take it structure level to structure level. So as that market moves, I want you to also see something else that was pretty powerful. When you took this setup, when I was looking at this setup, what time was the market moving? It was 2 in the morning. So you wanted it to make that reaction where, look, 3 o'clock, that market now starts moving into the right direction. Where if you would have been trading GBP, this move would have been that push, that momentum you would have been looking to the upside. Now you notice Enigma did give us another setup, which was just a confirmation of this bullish momentum, as we should literally just take it. from structure level to structure level. So you're always going to have a good combination of these two tools to utilize, because Enigma itself in its system is already 70-75% profitable, and pullback pips is literally already going to help you stay one step closer in the game, right? So I want to show you an example that I actually took this week. This was on Sunday that was given out, but later on in the week, I did take AUD CAD. And I just want to show you guys, because this was the setup right here that we got later in the week. So looking at our pullback pips indicator, we would have literally noticed, and this is what when I have my checklist, right? When it says confirmation 1, I literally identify what is my confirmation, right? Clearly we have a bearish pullback situation. When we're looking at our confirmation, we're asking ourselves, what is this market doing? So since it gave us this pattern of momentum breaking to the downside, we know that if we have our pullback pips, we should look for the market to do what? Pull back into this reference area. So your first confirmation would be, yes, we have our pullback pips confirmed with momentum, where now we're looking for the market to react in a bearish manner, right? Now in this scenario, we do see now that since we have that in that Enigma setup, this definitely could be another confirmation, but best believe what would help is definitely seeing that, look, the market broke to the downside, right? The market's continuing that flow. So now that it's actually trending, and this is what's important to really understand, now that you're seeing that this market is trending in a bearish setup, yes, we're still valid to look for the market to pull back and continue taking us to the downside, right? So if you notice, when you had your Enigma setup, it did give us our stop loss, which was above structure, which was great. It gave us our entry price and some nice targets where we would have looked for this market. As you can see, it pulls back and then eventually starts rocking it to the downside, right? Now, if you notice, by being able to know where the market is going to pull back to, do you see what happened? We literally understand that this is going to be that reaction we need to push it down, right? So this was actually a good setup that we got. I believe it moved about a nice 50, 60 pips. Right, this did some damage, 36, and then kept going a little bit lower. Boom, boom, boom. And then that was the successful trade setup, right? And what you need to be able to do is, at this point, when you already documented everything, hey, what time did I trade? What's my first confirmation? What's my second confirmation, right? How am I feeling, right? What was my risk? What was my lot size? You know, this was one of those trades that having it just set up, hitting these targets, you literally now are able to make it risk-free, secure your bag. You know, the market moving 50 pips, that's a nice trade setup. I'm out, right? Simple as that. You know, you want to make sure that you know exactly what time you're taking these trades. Even having screenshots help, but if you have, since you have your success manual printed out, you could just draw it in there. What did you see? You know, so that's going to help you maximize. So it would literally look like something like this. My first confirmation was that the market did what? This is your highest point. It created a what? Lower high. Right? And as this market is moving, it created a lower low and lower low. This was my first confirmation, helping me identify that since the market is giving me this identification on top of that, a bearish pullback, that helps me identify all I need now is what? The pullback to continue the short. Simple as that, right? That's my first confirmation. My second confirmation could be, hey, what's the futures looking like on AUD, right? Because if you notice, I want you to notice right here. Oh, let me take all of this off. When we got this set up right here, it was November 16th up until November, 17th, right? So if you notice, from the 16th to the 17th, what we're going to look at is the futures of AUD. And what it should tell us is that the futures should have been bearish, right? So if I go over here and I click on my futures for my AUD, oh, bada bing, bada boom. Give me 1 second. Make sure I got it. There you are. We were what? Bearish, 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 bearish. On the 16th right here. We were what? Bearish on this bad boy. So that move was nice to see coming into that AUD, right? So these are the type of confirmations you want to ask yourself. What is the euro doing? You know, this was another trade setup we talked on Sunday. If you remember, let me just give you guys a little quick playback of what happened. Let me erase that, erase that. I drew this zone, right? If you were looking at Euro JPY, what could have been some confirmations? Well, look, this zone was once supportive and now this is a rejection area. So if you notice, I told myself, as long as the market holds this area, right? And we're gonna look for it to be a rejection, it'll be able to push down, right? Now, as you're looking at this, I want you to also notice, what is the market doing? It went down, pulled back. It went lower, pulled back. It went lower. That's a downtrend, right? And if you now add your pullback pips onto that, now you're looking at what? The buy is being bearish. Powerful stuff, right? So when you're able to document that inside your trading journal, you'll be able to now go back at the end of the week and reference it, because you know, one of the key things you want to be able to do is look at the trades that were good, look at the trades that were bad, and identify why. Not only why they were good or bad, but how you could have maximized or even minimized the trade, right? Now, if you look at this EJ setup, let me just show you something. We did see that Enigma gave us a setup, but I just want you to see something. When we knew we were looking for this market to show us that rejection, I think that was the zone. We already had an idea that Enigma was giving us a stop loss where? Above all of that structure, right? So it was even better, yeah, to see that Enigma gave us another bearish setup right here, because look, structures, stop loss is still what? Above structure. You know, so those are some two great plays, especially seeing how it breaks that, which should be the rejection, which ends up being the pullback level. But that bad boy literally just takes off. So, you know, these are things that we're looking at. Now, I want you to see something, because looking at something like this, when you had the first setup, right? This was right here on Sunday, right? Opening right here, Sunday, boom. We talk about this market pulling back with the stop loss, having some targets. You know, if you push this market all the way down 75 pips, you got to be able to understand the market does need to pull back. It does need to retrace. It does need to consolidate, right? Even if it does want to continue that momentum to the downside, right? So these are all things that you want to be able to account, because, hey, even if you got stopped out right here, right? Let's just look at these situations. This was your first trade setup. Let's just say we followed Enigma and took this setup. I'd rather find the pullback, to be honest. But I just want to show you how being systematic is still going to help you become profitable, right? If we're seeing that Enigma is still, I see the setup still valid. We're still, what, bearish. Let's just say if we're looking at this setup right here, bada bing, bada boom, let's place a stop loss above that. We got Enigma telling us we got our targets, you know. Guess what? By being able to still stay systematic and have a process, you're still going to be able to be a little profitable, right? So if you notice Enigma, that Enigma alert would have hit TP1, would have hit TP2, right? For you to maximize. If you're up 80 pips, best believe, you know, you're already securing the bag, right? So these are all things that you want to account for, identify, And then you'll evaluate at the end of the week. Hey, look at this first setup. It went for 75 pips. Hey, look at this setup. It got stopped out for 30. Hey, look at this setup. You know, I took some partials at 80, but as it pulled back, I decided to, you know, close out or keep it minimized. Like, these are all things we need to evaluate. You know, a lot of the time that evaluation process, a lot of people sleep on it. But look, if you know what time EJ moves, you know, it's a very systematic approach, right? When would you look at EJ? Well, it's when the euro and when the yen, right? When does the euro move? 2 a.m. So 2 a.m. London session, right? We got our little London session, a little choppy chop. You'll have it. Then the next day, 2 a.m., right? And then the next day, 2 a.m., right? And this is what I want to show you, that it's like, you just got to be very consistent to the process, right? Because when you are consistent to the process and you're trading it at the right time, look at that, right? This is the only day that was choppy, but you have moves that actually move the market, right? So it's all about making sure that you're holding that accountability. Look, that market moved for 80 pips. You know, it was a choppy market, but look, this next day, the market moved for 90 pips. You know, the market moved for set 80 pips, right? So you want to be able to understand systematic approach, mechanical approach. A system is going to save you time, energy, and money. A mechanical approach is going to take you out of the market in an emotional state, and now you'll be able to stay consistent and profitable, you know, long term. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Just because the market's choppy doesn't mean you got to over leverage. No, hold yourself accountable, because if you're following all of this, at the end of the week, we can evaluate what's working and what's not working, right? So I just wanted to show you guys that approach, right? That what we should be doing on a daily basis when it comes to these markets. So we're just tapping in. You know, I don't want you guys to start taking every trade setup. It's great that Enigma, you know, let's just see. This is Euro GBP. Let me grab my pullback pips indicator. Look at that. Both of those would have been beautiful setups that were bearish, right? This one didn't get the pullback we needed, but the momentum was great. This one that we pulled back perfectly, momentum was great, right? So those are things that we want to just stay systematic, hold accountable to that. You know, you will have some losers. You will have some losers for sure. That's part of the game. But best believe your winners will outweigh those losers. Look at that. That was a good setup. All right. Your winners definitely will outweigh those losers. And that's what's going to help us stay consistent. So please do me a favor. You know, this week, the beginning of the week, we talked about getting set up properly. We will be, I know there was a few questions with the trade manager. If anybody has any questions, feel free, shoot me a message. I'll be dropping some insight on that. Please, look at this. Look at how simple and easy this is. Pullback pips is telling us we're bullish. Enigma gives us a bullish setup. Boom, that bad boy hits TP3. Look at this setup. Enigma gives us a setup. Pullback pips is bearish. Boom, we're moving into profit, right? Same scenario right here. Boom, we'll move into profit, right? Staying consistent is what we want to focus on. A lot of people are just trying to over leverage on one trade setup, and that's not going to work. You know, you want to be able to evaluate this process over the course of multiple trades. And you're going to notice, like right here, nothing. Enigma gave us nothing, right? But look, when Enigma gave us these setups, bullish, pullback pips all confirmed, right? So same scenario with these right here. Selling it, right? Even if you would have gotten stopped out on the first one, look, this bad boy literally goes into TP3 and more, right? So it's all about staying consistent and realize that, yes, you will lose. Yes, you will have some losses, but what you want to be able to do is minimize those losses, right? Because you will have more winners that come out of this. Let me see. If anybody has any questions, feel free, drop them in the chat. But this was pretty much the keys for tonight. You know, I want to make sure you understand that the first thing you got to do is fill everything out. How much are you risking? What's the risk to reward? What is the stop loss? You know, if you miss out on any of this information, you're already making it more difficult on yourself to stay consistent. I know when I over leverage because you can tell, hey, you risked more than you should. Hey, you can tell if the risk to reward makes sense, you take the trade. The great thing is with Enigma, right? This system literally gives out the trade setups that are always 3-1. So what that means is with Enigma, this trading system, right? With this trading system that gives us a 3-1 all the time, you don't have to be 100%. You could be 40% accurate and still be profitable, right? Everybody wants to be 100% accurate, right? Everybody wants these trading systems that are 100% accurate. But what you got to realize is with Enigma, look, hitting TP2 is hitting TP1. You know, all of those parameters are going to help you stay consistent. So definitely take this system very serious. You know, I want you guys to start practicing, start placing trades. And if you ever have any questions, definitely drop them. Drop them in the group. Drop them inside the Discord. One thing you're going to notice is with me personally, whenever I have an Enigma setup, like I want you to realize, I always understand that the market likes to consolidate, right? Just because the market's consolidating doesn't mean that the setup is invalid. You know, there's just going to be a moment in time that the move's going to happen, right? If you already had your setup identified, right? I'm talking about your confirmations. What would have been some confirmations? Well, the first one is, look, boom, the market is actually creating momentum. That's when we got the setup. What's the second confirmation? Well, I bring out my pullback pips and boom, I'm bearish, right? What's the third confirmation? Well, I need to see how, well, you'd see we dealt with some consolidation, but how are my futures doing? How are my currencies doing? I'm talking about how is the dollar doing? How is the AUD looking in this scenario, right? How's the yen doing? And then eventually, as this bad boy eventually marinates and breaks all of that, you know, you'll have the confirmations to then evaluate and say, yeah, that pullback was necessary for this move to the downside that occurred, right? And if the market does want to continue its move, great. But look, you even got the scenario again. It pulled right back to the level to make its move. So all of these are little confirmations you're going to have. Apply your pullback pips. Keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate it, right? And just try to take as many setups as you can. You know, I want you to truly see what's working and what's not working. Eventually, you're going to see that when you have this tool, this system, look, it's simple. The setups are there. Pullback pips confirmation is there. Now it's just a matter of you fine-tuning that, right? I'm talking about applying what our educators are teaching us about fundamentals and smart money concepts and, you know, intraday sniping strategies, right? When you're able to do those kind of things, it's going to help you just fine tune it and find better R2R setups. You know, just imagine finding a setup and pushing this bad boy all the way up to the upside, right? So that's definitely going to maximize. Let's see. I appreciate everybody watching this video. And remember, next week, I want you to evaluate your trading from this week. And I want you to ask yourself, did I fill out my day-to-day success manual and evaluate each trade setup? Or am I just placing trades like a crazy person, right? Hopefully you're not placing trades like a crazy person. But I appreciate y'all, family, and I will see y'all in the inside the Discord. Take care.